Hello, Sober on Purpose. I have a person who is a stress coach. Don't we all need that? But in particular, she works with the population that we talk about on Sober on Purpose, folks who are dealing with addiction, especially children who have lived in addictive situations and are now adults. This is Lolita Guarin. Be Amazing You is her website, which is fantastic. How else do we want to but be amazing? That's so, Lolita, that's what I tell my children anymore. I don't tell them to be safe. I don't tell them to be careful. Go be amazing. Be adventurous. Break the mold. Figure out something that you do different from other people. So, Lolita, tell us a little bit more about your work and how you got started.
So I started to really, for those who will be immediately thinking, oh my gosh, I have a feeling she has an accent. And I live in US right now, but I'm from Lithuania. I came 20 years ago and I came for American Dream. And I knew that I can work very hard and I can achieve what I want because, there are plenty of money growing trees here in US, right? You just arrive and you pick up whatever you want and you leave. so so while I was still growing my money tree, I realized that I was working for 60 hours a week. I was working weekends, overtime. I didn't take care of myself. That's just the human needs of eating nutritious food and doing exercise. Those like the regular things that we're supposed to do every single day to make us feel healthy mentally and physically, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't really doing that. So my body at some point said, it's enough. So it really messed up with my hormones and I was stressed out, burnout, until to the point I ended up at the emergency room. And one diagnosis was very simple. It's like, okay, well, you're kind of stressed out and anxious and all of this. You need to stop doing that. And what was surprising to me that I never thought I'll be, be running in a situation like this when I was in my 30s. So I didn't want to get any pills because, it's so easy these days. Like, oh, you just get a pill for this and you get a pill for that. And I'm
No.
like, no, people, even if we talk about stress, when you look outside, the grass was also stressing to grow through this concrete walk, right?
Right.
So there is stress in the environment. We just don't know how to manage it.
Right.
Um, so then I started using natural ways how to, like time management, and that's when I introduced exercise and and nutrition and all this, and then became a stress management coach like over 10 years ago. But then well, I'm talking now on your podcast, which I am so appreciative. Thank you so much for inviting, and I think we need more talk about things like that because I was reading a book about just how to get more coaching clients. It's just like a regular business book, and the author mentioned that she was an adult child alcoholic, and
Mm-hmm.
her dad was alcoholic, and she proceeded to describe how anxious she can become and all this. And I was reading and I was like, wait a minute, this is me. Like my dad was an alcoholic.
Oh, yeah.
And that was when it finally hit me that I need to really find out more about this. So that's Adult Children Alcoholics was like the first time introduced to me only like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I dig into that subject, I realized that childhood trauma, it's so it is involved in our adult lives because it looks like, oh, whatever happens in your childhood doesn't mean. And I'm so grateful now that there's more and more people start talking about things like that, like, oh, the way you behave now, it means a lot how you behave, when what you saw in your childhood. And I say we can have two people in the room and something would happen. Let's say there is a fight outside the door or you hear some noise. They will react very differently depending
Yeah.
what family they came from. So if somebody comes like me from a family, where my dad was alcoholic, um, there was this uncertainty and always hypervigilance, always waiting for the worst things to happen. For me, that noise outside will be very stressful. I would immediately just hit myself running into, oh my gosh, this is very stressful for me, and it's the worst
Right.
things that happen. Where the other person could be like, I don't know, maybe there's some people arguing about their dog. I don't know, so they can and so
Can I slow you down just a minute? Hypervigilance is a term that you and I use, but explain what hypervigilance really means. What happens in your body when hypervigilance happens?
it is always the feeling that you are ready to fight or flight. It's like expecting the worst to happen. You are ready to go. You are fighting for your survival. And from children who grew up in that kind of environment where there is always uncertainty and where addiction was involved, or even some, not necessarily even addiction, but could be another different type of abuse, like emotional abuse or physical abuse. The child can also grow up feeling very hyper vigilant and waiting for the worst that can happen, and always prepare to fight or flight.
So that fight outside the door, like you said, could be about somebody's dog, or could be that the lawn guy didn't show up, but your body is saying, "Oh my goodness, I need to do something about it." What
And
did you do to manage that?
so it's all about, of course, in our minds, because we ourselves stress ourselves out. Yeah, I would say majority of time. Um, and so when I realized that it has to do everything in my mind, I start paying attention what triggers me. And then there's a lot of work associated with, what your childhood traumas are, how you approach stress, what triggers you, how you deal with the other people, how you deal with yourself. Um, but I think the starting point is to realize that, okay, I grew up in this environment. I might be having those patterns when I'm an adult now, and not to be ashamed about that.
Mm.
Because what I noticed what happened to me when I realized, I was like, oh, I have those things that really associated with an adult child of alcoholic is like, oh, I'm very compulsive, I have no patience. I'm always on go go go. I'm perfectionist,
Mhm.
I am a people pleaser. And when you look from a stress point of view, this is all involves your energy, your physical energy, your mental
Mhm.
energy, and it's always go 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 and always give give give. So when I find this out, and I saw this, there's like the whole laundry list of adults of alcoholics online. When I started reading, I was terrified.
Oh,
And
no.
I'm like, oh my God, this is it for me. I mean, I'm all messed up from the beginning. What am I thinking I'm going to achieve in
Right,
something? I will
right.
not. So that was, it was a very big disappointment, and also like shocking. But then I realized, like, okay, but there's plenty of people like this. And
Oh,
even
yes. Oh, yes, the
in
statistics are 2/3 of Americans are experiencing some kind of addictive behavior in their family. They may not be the person doing it, and it may be extended, but 2/3. So, even in Lithuania, I'm sure there were plenty of other people just like you, Lolita.
Yes, and and I get this question a lot. It's like, oh, okay, so how is different from Lithuania from US? And I'm like, to tell you the truth, it doesn't matter what country you were growing up. It matters what family you were growing up, where your needs were met. And even
Mhm,
somebody who, let's say, did not have parents that had addiction, but let's say they had a narcissist in the family, or they were emotionally abused and neglected and not
mhm.
supported the way the child needs to be, they will have exactly the same patterns and triggers as an adult child of alcoholic or any some sort of addiction. So it doesn't matter where you live; it really matters what family you grow up.
So, how did you begin? First, you get this whole list, and I've seen the CODA list, and you're kinda like, "Oh my gosh, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me." But now you know what the issues are. How did you turn the corner?
So for also, I felt very ashamed of, oh my gosh, I'm broken.
Mm,
Um,
mhm,
and then I know when I grew up in my family and in my neighborhood, if you struggle with any family issues, nobody talks about it. It's
mhm,
shameful, right? You're
mhm,
supposed
mhm,
to act like nothing's happening. Everything
mhm.
is, pink colors, and we happy family. Although everybody knows around what's happening, especially like my dad will be so drunk he would just pass out in the front of the door, so all the neighborhood will see that
Right, so it
he's
was
drunk.
visible.
It's very visible.
Yeah.
It's not like something to hide, but I felt ashamed for who I am. I felt guilt of even acknowledging that the family that I grew up was not perfect. And it made me feel very lonely because I thought, oh my gosh, because nobody talks about that. I mean, from
Mm.
where I grew up. But then when I found that book and then I read and I was like, I need to investigate more of this. And then I find out there's more people like me. And when I published my book, Stress Management for Adult Children of Alcoholics,
Mhm.
I did plenty of speaking and coaching and in events. I have people all the time coming to me and they said, oh, thank you so much for the book. I thought I was afraid even to seek for help, and now I can see, that's I'm not the only one. And the feeling of you not the only one is extremely powerful because that empowers you, that there is help. You can go talk to someone. So the first thing is when you realize, okay, I grew up in this, there's nothing to be ashamed of. First of all,
Mhm.
because you were a child, you didn't do this,
Mhm.
that was done to you.
Mhm.
So there's nothing wrong. Then have enough courage to say, I'm not broken. Everything can be
Mhm.
fixed. And in my book, I have 25 chapters, and every of
Mhm.
them talks about specific issue, that from the laundry list is so bad you broken kind of list. And I give examples, from my life and plenty of questions and help tool and stress management tools, how you can manage specific thing in your life, whatever
Mhm.
shows up. But also every chapter I end with a superpower, because
I love it.
I think everything that you've been through, no matter what you've been through,
Right?
it is a tool that you can use to help you and other people, because you are different. You are much more resilient. You are stronger. You've been through this and you survived. So you
Mhm.
can help others one day in that situation. And I use, and I always want to say, no matter how you grow up, no matter what house you came from, you always can use that experience to help others and empower yourself as well. And like, for example, uh, seeking immediate gratification, that's one of the things that was on the laundry
Mhm.
list. And how oh my gosh, how dare you to be impatient. But I'm very impatient, as you can tell. I'm like running 100 miles an hour, but I get shit done. I don't have time for things. If I want something to be done, I'll go do it now, because
Right.
and there's so many other things, like just being more resilient. You like somebody who's constantly hyper vigilant, they always on lookout, right? So let's say you are with people and you will notice the details, what's happening around you, and
Mhm.
you already will feel it, what's happening, like let's say you walk in a dark street, something, you will know that you should not be going
Mhm.
around that corner. You
Yes.
with friends, you can say, I have this feeling, maybe we should go to the left over there. you,
Right,
you
or
have
not get in that elevator. Elevators scare me sometimes. I'm like, I'll wait for the next one. It's okay." But those superpowers, talk to me more about how you take the broken feeling and go, "It's not broken, it's a different way of looking at the world." How do you coach people to look at the world differently?
So first of all, I think children who grew up in the dysfunctional families really don't appreciate themselves for who they are.
Hmm.
So you need to start off from your true self-love now. when i when I heard this thing, oh, you just need to love yourself more, boy, did that triggered me, because
Mhm.
I was trying to be perfect. I was like, I want to have the biggest grades, I have plenty of accomplishments. I wanted my parents to see me and appreciate me. Well,
Mm.
that didn't happen. So when
Mhm.
somebody would tell me, you just need to love yourself more, it would trigger me so much, because it's kind of like they telling me that I haven't done good enough yet. It's like,
Ooh, slow down and say that one more time. You just need to love yourself more, and what you hear them telling you is, "I haven't done good enough yet."
I
Oh,
took
talk
it
us
like a
through that one.
criticism. It comes as a criticism. And and here is the thing that would even make would used to make me worse. So then I hear the message, oh, I am not doing this enough. Then number two, I have no idea how to do that, because it's like, well, how do you love yourself, especially if you grew up in a dysfunctional family with an
Mhm.
addict, for example. you know that that addict is not loving himself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's so interesting that even if you go back to biblical scripture, what does it say? Love your neighbor as yourself. So if you hate yourself, what are you doing with your neighbor? Oh, Lolita, this is some good stuff. Tell us more about how you move through that.
So then there's another cherry on top. What I struggle with that sentence and all the self-love thing is someone who grew up in a dysfunctional family and they not being loved and appreciated for who they were. A lot of times, even those accomplishments where someone can think, oh, if I'll just be a better child, if I'll just do
Mm,
better, I will be perfect, then they will
mhm,
love me, probably never happened. Probably
mhm,
parents never said, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. You are so good. So what
mhm,
happens is this: when somebody tells you you need to love yourself more, you also faced with a huge dilemma of, well, I am unworthy to be loved. I cannot love
mm,
myself.
mm, mm, mm,
And then
mm,
on top of that, because you feel like you did something wrong, like as a
mhm.
child, you feel even ashamed of yourself. So how are you even gonna love yourself?
So you've just created this whole circle of I'm not doing it well enough to love myself. I don't have the skills because I've never seen it modeled. And now I know that it's shameful because I don't love myself and you're telling me I should and I can't do it. And I don't you just it's a hula hoop. You just keep going round and round.
Yep. And so you feel, I felt trapped. It's like, what does that mean? So
Uh-huh.
when some how it helped me a lot is to understand, like, okay, you accept what happened. I cannot change it. That was not my fault that my dad was drunk. Okay,
Mhm.
now I know those are the patterns that I have in my mind. I know I'll get triggered. I know what my tendencies are. I start paying attention what I do. I had a diary and I will write it down, what were my worries for the day. So everything
Mhm.
starts with really seeing, where are you. When you know where your the starting point is, then you will know what you need to do to move to the direction that you need to go. um, and I invite those who are listening in now, just have, or just run in your head and think, okay, what are the patterns that you constantly do? But it can
Mm.
be because those patterns keeping us safe, we are not going to even see them. We will think that that's our normal, because how can you understand something outside of your understanding? You know,
Right. You don't know what you don't know, right?
yeah. So I invite also for somebody who lives in the with someone else in the household who are very supportive. Please do not go to not supportive people. You know?
Choose your people carefully. Watch. In fact, what I say is watch how they support other people, and is that how you want to be supported before you ask for support? Because you can, and I've seen folks that I work with do this, and I have done this in the past. You can seek support and be even more damaged if you choose the wrong people. So thank you for saying that, Lolita. All right. So we're looking for the supportive people. What next?
Then we, especially those friends who know us for quite a few years, and they can tell
Mhm.
us what our patterns are. It's great to have a conversation and say, okay, so here I read the book and it says that those tendencies, do you think I display them?
Mm. Mhm.
Do you think I'm a people pleaser?
Mm.
Do you think I have no patience? Do you
Mhm.
think I get very quickly triggered if I'm, criticized? Um,
Mhm.
do I love myself as of? Do I have boundaries?
That's a big one.
And you can ask all those questions to yourself, and really pay attention how you do every single day, kind of thing. Then you identify those patterns, and then you try to work with those patterns. And like we begin at the beginning of the past podcast, we said it's all in your mind. So when but it's very important to come to this battle, of your, how you're going to heal this, and how you're going to tackle this. Even though it's very scary, it takes a lot of
Right.
courage. You need to come with an armor of this that self-love that is very difficult to do. And to me, self-love is means accepting and appreciating yourself the way you are and
Uh-huh.
honoring your needs.
That's a huge one. To believe that we even are worthy of having needs is huge. So how, Lolita, how do you honor your needs?
So probably somebody who's listening now, especially the people pleasers, immediately roll their eyes and they're like, "Oh my
Uh-huh.
gosh, this is so freaking selfish. How dare you say that?" And especially if you grew up in a dysfunctional family and
Right.
you understood that by bargaining something or manipulating other people behavior, like other people to behave the way you want them to behave, was the only way how to get attention.
Mhm.
um, you may think, well, what do you mean self-love? And then you have this little shade of the victimhood that you probably learned from your parents who displayed some
Mhm.
addiction,
Mhm.
of like, oh, how dare you to take care of your own needs, you're selfish. um,
Mhm.
and I remember I forgot where I heard that sentence, but it was funny. It says, when somebody tells you, "Oh, how dare you not do what I'm telling you to do? How selfish can you be to follow your own needs?"
Yes. Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
That's funny. But honoring your own needs, first of all, like you said, let's just know that we all have needs.
Mhm.
Let's just talk about needs. I think human needs very well were described by Bashar, but I mean, that's just my opinion. I think, there are five human needs: that we need to sleep, we need to eat, we need to feel comfortable, uh, hydration, and all that. But then there are two human needs that I think are extremely important for overall for us to feel healthy, and that's where we get stressed. And if we do not have those last two pieces,
Mhm.
one piece is we need to belong to the group.
Mhm.
We are those kind of animal species that we love a herd.
Yeah.
We're a
We
herd
wanna be
animal.
connected. We want to know that someone is there. We want some kinda connection.
And so that's where you need to find friends that can listen to you, get a therapist, get a stress management coach, get something that can help you, that you have that connection. And it's also very important to um, even have a spiritual connection, or an understanding that there is someone that can take care of you, or
Mhm.
you as a universe in whole, or universe is good, or whatever your religion you can pick, but
Mhm.
something that there is a understanding that you did nothing wrong and you're good. Because
Mhm.
when you come from a dysfunctional family, you can have a tendency of thinking, oh, whatever you do is wrong and you yourself is very wrong. That's
Mhm.
why I kind of steer away from religions that start already the thinking of like you're wrong already to begin with, because that's, I
Mhm.
think that's very very damaging, but that's just my
Mhm.
opinion. So yes, you need to belong to the group, and that's why it's dysfunctional families. You can be growing up in a family, but feel totally lonely, and like
Yeah.
nobody understands you, nobody gives attention, and that's where you think that something's wrong with you, and
Right.
then you yourself abandon yourself. So
I love that. That when you abandon yourself, who else is there?
and the sad part is, because we become a people pleasers, and when we're children, we take away that part of ourselves that other people don't like, and
Uh-huh.
that's how we abandon ourselves. So I say, they say, you can, it doesn't matter where you go, you take yourself with you. Well,
Absolutely.
I add to this. Yes, you do, but you also can abandon yourself no matter where you are.
Right.
And
Right.
what does that mean? That abandoning, that belonging to yourself, belonging to the group, you need to have boundaries. But first, you need to know you have the needs, and it's okay to
Mhm.
have the needs. It's
Mhm.
okay to want to be in the group. It's
Mhm.
okay to know that I want to just sleep today. So, how are you honoring your own needs? And it's just like it can be this micro um, things in your life that nobody even will notice, but it's happening in your mind. For example,
Mm.
you're standing, you wake up in the morning, you need to go to work, let's say, and you need to pick clothes from your closet. Which clothes you're going to pick? Listen to yourself. Am I going to pick this dress because everybody loves seeing me in this dress? Oh, I'm gonna pick this dress because I love that dress.
It makes me happy. It
Makes
makes
me
me
happy.
feel good. Yeah.
So for those who thinking, oh my gosh, meeting your own needs is so selfish. How dare you? It doesn't matter what dress I'm going to put. Nobody's going to die. Okay. Or like taking a small breaks. And I say it's a very simple stress management tip. It's every hour, put an alarm on your phone. And when it rings for 1 minute, do nothing. Just close your eyes and do nothing. Or
Mm.
better yet, stand up and just bounce and breathe and move your body. 1 minute, nobody will die if you do it. Of course, disclaimer, if you are operating heavy machinery, please do not close your eyes.
If you're actually doing something where other people will get harmed, then
Yeah.
maybe you need to just sit quiet for a second and do that. Yeah.
But I had so many clients that will come to me and they say, "Oh my gosh, I'm a single mother. I have a business. I cannot do this. I'm burnout. I'm stressed out." And then I say, "Okay, take a minute every hour." And they're like, "You don't understand. I don't have time for this." And I'm like, "Do you seriously think stress management is like a button? You push a button, then you're all stressed out." I think that's why drugs are very popular these days,
A
or
pill,
being.
if a pill could reduce it, we would. Well, there are some that do sort of, but they have heavy side effects. If you're going to pop a Xanax to calm down your stress, you have other side effects going on that are more dangerous for you.
But there are plenty of natural ways how to do it. So when I tell them just do 1 minute, 1 minute, just close whatever you're doing, because it's when I start speaking meetings or anywhere I do presentation, I have a glass of water and I hold it and I say, okay, I start talking and I say, what do you think how heavy this glass is? And people, I don't know. I'm like, this glass, it will depend how heavy it will get heavier if I'm going to hold it longer.
Right. It's not very heavy right now.
No. Or like, raise your hands. And I say, if I don't have glass or anything, I start talking and I say, everybody raise your hand. And then I keep
Mhm.
talking. And they're like, gosh,
And you
this is
leave their
heavy.
hands up there.
I'm like, this is stress, people. Your body
Yeah.
is in pain because it's stressing out. It's the same things with your mental state. So you need to take those breaks. So now imagine
Right.
I will have that hand, put it down, go up, put it down. I can do this all day. The same
Right.
thing is with your mind. You need to give yourself a break. But here's the problem. This is where regular stress management ends and where childhood trauma begins. Where I say,
Okay.
I have clients who they say they cannot even do that. Like for those
Mm.
listeners who you just listened to this and you thought that was the stupidest idea and that's not going to make any difference in your life and you don't have time for this,
Mhm.
you need to ask yourself one question: why you don't want to take care of yourself? Why are you feeling guilty about that?
And what does that bring up? What does
That
that
is
say
childhood
about you?
trauma because you felt like, again, we're coming back to whole circle, because you feel
Why?
ashamed of yourself. You trying to show your best face, like you're not broken, everything is fine, because that's what you learned when you were growing up. Then you feel ashamed or guilty
Mhm.
of helping yourself, honoring your own needs, hence that's your self-love.
Mhm.
When you honor your needs and say, you know what, I'm too tired, I'm not going to do this right now, I'm going to take a
Mhm.
break, I'm going to take 10 minutes nap, I
Mhm.
am not going to wash the dishes right now because I'm tired. People,
Mhm.
somebody else can wash those dishes. There's nobody going to die if those dishes are in the sink.
That's right. They will be just fine and they'll be there tomorrow morning when I get up if that's what I want to do.
But you need to understand little small things that you're not allowing yourself to do that has to do with honoring your own needs. They add up. And that is adding more stress. And you know what caused my collapse and totally derail my hormones? It was because I already came from the family of that my normal state was being hyper vigilant. Yes, I'm
Mhm.
always alert. And then when I put myself in the situation, because I was people pleaser, I wanted to be perfect, I wanted to achieve things, and I just totally declined myself any self love and didn't take
Mhm.
breaks. I didn't take care of my human needs. What happened? I went overboard with this, and then
Mhm.
my body says, "Okay, we just cannot do this anymore."
It just shut down. It said we're done.
Just yeah. It's like, okay, well, we're gonna pack up now, because there's no more bandwidth left.
Mm-hmm.
So
Makes
those,
sense.
who are coming from dysfunctional families, where stress is the normal state of mind,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
taking care of themselves and being uh, the selfish person in the family who's
Right.
actually going to take care of their needs and take breaks and do things and not talk to people that's stressing them out, weeding out the people from your life that are negative, they're criticizing you, they constantly trigger you. And the loyalty, it just amazes me. It's like, I tell my clients, I'm like, make a list of people, and now those who are listening, I'm advising this, make a list of people that you most of the time hang out with, and then right next to their name, do they support you? Do they, when you talk to them, when you hang out with them, do they make you feel happy, or they make you feel down? Are they make you up, or they make you feel down? Those who make you feel down, don't stop talking to them. But here is what is the hard part is, because when you grew up in this functional family, loyalty was extremely important.
Oh,
Because
because you
no,
had to keep the secret. You had to
the,
keep the secret.
so one thing is you have to keep the secret, but another thing is, no matter how bad they were with you, no matter how abusive they were, you have nowhere to go. You're a child. It's not you're gonna pick up your
Right.
shit and leave. So you learn that in order for you to survive, you have to please those people, no matter how bad they mistreating you. Hence, it's just pure survival. So then you take this loyalty to your parents, to your surroundings, into your adult life. So that's why you are stuck and stressed out in the job that you hate. That's why you are stressed out and not happy in the marriage that's not working anymore. You hang out with the people, your friends, who they constantly criticize you, they trigger you, they make you feel bad, because to you that's your normal. You can handle this. You're like, yeah, that's my normal.
That's you said that earlier. You don't know what you don't know, and nothing changes until something changes. Right? So I love that. Tell us a little bit more, Lolita, about where we can find you, your website. I believe you have 4 books. Is that correct?
Yes. So I have 4 books, but uh, 2 of them are only about stress. So
Mhm.
one, the older one, is crush stress while you work. I know it's
Mhm.
a full mouth, but it it is a small book, but it's packed with how to manage stress and tips and techniques specifically for the work environment.
Uh-huh.
Because I do also a lot of lunch and learns in the companies, how to manage stress in the workplace. And then the last one that I just mentioned, you stress management for adult children of alcoholics, can be also used for any child who grew up in a dysfunctional family. Because, like I mentioned before, the characteristics are very similar. How somebody grew up, as long if your needs were not met, you can use that book.
And then you're at Be Amazing You is the website, your active working stress management coach right now. And so the project for everybody who has been listening today is to write down a list of people. Who are the ones who bring you up? Who are the ones who bring you down? Who's supportive? Who's not supportive? They don't have to do anything with this. And if they want more help on how to manage those people in their lives, they should hop on your website and connect with you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Also, I really want to bring out the part of recognizing needs. Nobody is wrong for having needs. We all, as you said, we need to sleep, we need to eat, we need to feel connected, we need to be able to de stress. We're part of a group. Nobody needs to feel that having needs, even if you've got a lot of people to take care of, young kids, elderly parents, somebody dealing with addiction, you still need to take care of you. So, Lolita, I can't thank you enough for being here. Any parting wisdom you want to leave with the Sober on Purpose family?
So I just can say one sentence and add to whatever you just said. For those who feeling especially guilty of taking care of themselves, if you think you don't have time right now to take care of yourself, who is going to take care of the family and the business when you will be sick in the hospital? So think every time when you take care of yourself, you're taking care of them as well.
Absolutely. Thank you again for being here. It is such an honor to hear all that work and all the things that can be changed because you now have control of them.